Hey guys, Container Crops, the Scaredy Cat Gardener here. We are outside this morning and we are getting ready to harvest our thyme. I have quite a bit of it and I want to show you guys something about it. I'm going to be dehydrating it, so I'll show you that process too. Let's get busy. Okay guys, I got my little bucket here, but as you can see, some of these are starting to flower and you don't want your thyme to flower. Once it starts to flower, if you don't cut the flowering part off and harvest it, it will taste bitter once you use it. So I'm going to clip these little flowering pieces off here. Lots of it is starting to flower. It's been out here for quite some time. So time, pun not intended. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest it. Because it is a perennial, I'm not going to cut it all the way down. I'm just going to cut it quite a ways down. Okay, I think that's good enough. And this should come back. And yes, those were flowering and I could let them continue on and go to seed, but because it's a perennial and it'll come back every year, as long as I take care of it and it keeps coming back, there will be no more need for me to have seeds. Okay guys, I've got quite a bit of harvest here. Okay guys, we are back inside, and if you want to preserve your thyme, you say you want to keep it fresh and you want to preserve it, I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to wash it off and I'm going to show you how to keep it for a little bit longer. But if you can dehydrate it, that would be awesome. Now you don't have to have an actual dehydrator to do this. You can simply do it in your oven, turn it on the lowest setting, lay it out on some parchment paper in a single layer if possible, and leave it there for probably about 6 hours and it'll come out pretty much the same. Check it. And when it's dry, it's dry. And from there, you can use a blender or anything like that, a Morton pesto, to just crush it up fine. And if you guys did not know, most herbs and spices, once dry, will last up to 15 years. Yep, you heard me right. 15 years. So guys, I'm going to dehydrate this, and I love the herbs and spices because most of them are perennials, meaning they're going to come back every single year as long as you're taking care of them. And so when I want some fresh, you say, well, you know, I'm going to use fresh thyme or fresh oregano or fresh sage. Yes, but it's going to be growing back. So if you notice, I didn't cut all of it down. So if I really wanted to use some fresh thyme in a dish right now, I just go out there and clip a couple more. In the meantime, I have the dry, which is what I use most of the time, giving that an opportunity to grow. So let's go over to the sink and get this cleaned up. So we're going to wash this. I'm going to put it in my colander so I can wash it all at once. And you will also need a Ziploc plastic bag and some paper towels. Real simple, real easy. So always use cool water, because if you use hot water and the water is too hot, it may start to cook your tender herbs. Now that we've got that all rinsed off, you want to take them, leave them good and wet, because you actually want damp paper towels. And since we just rinsed them off, they're good and wet and they will dampen the paper towels. Roll them up neatly. Paper towels. You don't have to fasten them or anything. They're good and wet, and that's what you want. And from there, we're just going to put it in a Ziploc paper bag and sit them in your refrigerator until you are ready to use or dehydrate. Release most of the air, zip it up, and we're done. Okay guys, so we are back. We are going to set our dehydrator up. I have had them in the refrigerator overnight. This is how you store them. So they are all washed and ready to go. And they are pretty wet from being in the refrigerator, but that's okay. We don't have to do anything with them. They're not soaking wet. But this is all of the time I was able to harvest this one time. And so we're going to get these dehydrated and made into our spices. Like I said in my previous video, if you guys have not watched the video about the dehydrating of the onions, once these spices are dehydrated, they can last up to 10 to 15 years. So for these, as you can see, let's see if here, as you can see, they're on the stems. You want to dehydrate them on the stems. So you just lay them on the tray. Keep them on the stems while they're dehydrating. And then I'll show you what you need to do once they're all dehydrated. So I'm going to get these trays filled up and we'll be right back. Okay, so we are going to dehydrate these on about 125 for about 1 to 2 hours. Okay guys, we are back and we are all dehydrated. Our thyme is ready to store. So now that we have these, as you can see, they're very brittle and very thin. So it's really no need for us to grind them up, but you can if you want them even smaller. I tend to just use them like this. So I use a funnel and I just take my hands and I run it straight down the leaves. You don't want the stems. Take the leaves off the stem and I put them right down into my jar, just like that. Now, if you want to grind them up even further, I would do that, but you still have to take them off the stems first. Okay, guys, we are all done, and this is the amount I ended up with. Doesn't look like a lot, but typically, you know, when you use thyme, you only use a teaspoon here and a teaspoon there, and it's not like you're using it every day. That's the beauty of growing it, because as it grows, I can harvest it again, dry it, and add more to my jar. But the real beauty is that it'll last for 10 to 15 years. So the more I can grow, the more I can harvest. 10 to 15 years, guys? Oh my goodness. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me in my garden and kitchen today. And remember, anywhere you can sit a pot, you can grow a plant. And I'll see you on the trail.